Hey, what's up everybody? Just thought I'd make a beat making video today. I already have my session pulled up. I have my drum kit loaded, which is right here. And if you are just getting started in beat making, or maybe you just don't know like where to start, a good place for royalty free samples is Splice. So you can see that I have a lot of these pulled up already, and I'm gonna go ahead and do this one here. It's a West Coast melody, I guess, by Kato. He's a really cool producer, Kato on the track. So down here is the actual pack that I'm using there. So Kato on the track, Melodies, Volume 2. So the cool thing about these is that in the full name, let's see if it'll, I might have to, there we go. Okay, so actually right here inside of the project, you can see the name that they include the key and then also the BPM. So what you want to do is once you drag it in here, you want to come in here and then you want to change your BPM to, let's see, that says 101. You don't have to worry too much about your song key. If you want to, you can change it. So I guess for the sake of this, we'll go ahead and do it. So you can come in here and actually choose it. So it's saying C minor. So you want to come in here and you find C minor. All right. So now our track is actually, got to make sure you do it back here. My bad. Yeah, Logic's kind of weird. If you do anything in front of your sample, then it's going to change it as soon as you get to that. So you can see how if I go back to there, it's C major, and if I go here, it's C minor, so be wary of that. So make sure any of your changes are done in front, at bar 1, at the very front of everything. Okay, so what we'll go ahead and do is turn it down, because normally the samples come in loud. So you want to, I normally, anywhere between 5, 6, or 7 dB. Let's just do 6 for here. And then we'll take a listen, and then click up here for your loop function. Go ahead and loop it. Turn on the metronome. Mine's a little bit too loud. So has a nice little bounce to it. So this is all personal preference. Some of these melodies, you can see that they are 4-bar loops. Now what I like to do is I'll take it and duplicate it by holding Alt, and then I can just kind of drag it over like that. Coming here and highlighting it, doing a right click, and then doing join. It's going to ask you if you want to do a new audio file. You go ahead and create it. So now you have a perfect 8-bar loop. It's a lot easier to work in 8-bar loops. Things don't get as messy, whereas like if you have a bunch of 4s and you start cutting, and then it just kind of gets ridiculous after that. But so right now we'll just do 8-bar loop here. So you can see right here, it just starts right back over, and it's pretty seamless. So now what we'll go ahead and do is okay, West Coast stuff, at least to me, is like it's very bouncy and kind of fast, and honestly I don't have a lot of experience with it, but I guess being musical kind of helps me out there, so I get to take a little bit of a, I guess, creative liberty on it. So we'll come in here. I have my keyboard down here. Go ahead and turn down the snare a little bit. So we always want to start with the snare. Make sure to turn on your metronome while recording. That helps. And then also that's a count in, so it gives you 4 counts to start. So we can go ahead and do is actually extend the MIDI region there. And then what we want to do is get rid of any mistakes you might have made. And then you want to highlight all of it by clicking and dragging, and then over here in the time quantize section to the left you hit the Q, and then it should snap everything on the grid. Now with the program that I'm using, I'm actually having to work against a small sound delay. So you just want to make sure everything's on the grid. Now, whenever you do this on your own, there shouldn't be a delay, so you shouldn't have anything to work against. So now what you can do is you highlight all of it, and then you hold Command and hit R, and what that's going to do is actually repeat all of the entire section. So let's make sure that we have that. Cool. So another little handy trick is if you do Command A and then you hold Shift, and then hit the backslash, it'll bump everything to the next note, which is really useful for the whole sample to be played out. So if I were just to click it, you can kind of hear how that reverb tail, tails off, and that's in the actual snare sample. Now, if I go in here, just on the keyboard, let me find it again. If I just barely hit it, you can hear how it cuts off and doesn't sound very nice. So whenever you lay it out, you always want to make sure to bump everything up next to each other, so you get the full, effect of what the sample's supposed to be. So now that we have that, let's go ahead, come in here, and then we can do hi-hats. So we'll see how it goes with this delay that I'm working against. Cool. So now let's make sure I get that on grid. So same thing, you want to highlight with Command A and then hit Q. That's a keystroke there. Alright, cool. So we got a nice little bouncy thing there. So Control R pushes it all the way over to the side, and we'll go ahead and come in here again. Now what I'm doing to duplicate it is I'm clicking on the track. Command D is a duplicate, or you can come up here, make an entirely new instrument, but it's a lot faster whenever you start using keystrokes and getting used to them. So now what we'll come in here and do, let's do the kicks. So let's see what we can come up with. So highlight, quantize, and then almost didn't take my own advice there. There we go. Go ahead and do all that. Alright, awesome. So now we should have pretty cool. Pretty simple beat so far. Alright, so now what we can go ahead and do is kind of throw in I guess some like sound effects and stuff like that. So here are actually all the kits that I've built myself in the what do they call it? The ESX24 sampler here. So this is what I predominantly use, and it's a stock plugin, really simple to use, everything like that. So if we want to come in here and then just pull up some sound effects. So let's see what I have. So that's a pretty simple and very heard sample, I'm sure. So let's go ahead and throw it in there. It doesn't have to be a lot, just enough to sound interesting, I guess. So literally something as simple as that. Make sure that this is on time. Nice. Cool. So same thing, shift. I want to put it all the way together so it plays the whole sample. Cool. So what we want to do is just tuck it way back in the back. Just like that. Awesome. Okay, so now what we can do is kind of add like a nice bass sound. So this is also completely stock. The ES2 synthesizer. It's basically like a 3 oscillator synthesizer. You can customize it however you want. So in here I have some presets. This Drake Moog bass. You can kind of hear how that sounds. Let me go ahead and turn that off. And then you come down on my keyboard, I hit the octave button, make it lower. So you can kind of hear how's that kind of Drake vibe to it. So now let's listen to this and then the bass by itself and see what we can do or find. I like that. Lay it down. Cool, pretty simple. Alright. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that if it overlaps, you pull it back. Just like that, just so that way it's on the line so you can see on the 5. So each one of these numbers represents a beat. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you know, so on and so forth. So what we want to do is we want to highlight all of it, go ahead and quantize it, and see how everything snaps to the grid. And then what we want to do is take this, highlight it again, and then repeat it over. Highlight it one more time, shift, and then backslash, and then so now we have a completed pattern. So another thing you want to make sure to do is with all these little different colors with the MIDI patterns and stuff like that, you can see how they're different colors. Like you have like your red and orange and kind of like a, I guess, a yellowish. So that is basically showing you how hard the note is being played. So it's called velocity. Depending on the velocity that you play is how loud the sample is going to be played, so it kind of gives it a different feel. So with a lot of my basses, what I like to do is I'll take it, highlight it, or highlight all of it with the Command A, and then just drag it all the way up to the top, so that way they're all hitting evenly, and it's as loud as it needs to be. So that all together. Nice. Alright, now let's see what else we can add in here. Maybe an actual 808. So what we want to do, we come up here and then we go into ESX24 sampler, go ahead and open it up. And a lot of the popular 808s that are out right now are really short. Whenever I first started making beats, like they were like long 808s and they would slide everywhere, but now they're very short and kind of like to the point. So like this one here, so you can kind of hear how short that is there. So whenever you lay down 808s, it's a lot easier to listen to them whenever they're high pitched, because it's kind of hard to register low. So we'll pretty much mute everything except for our kicks and our pattern. Right, so it's pretty much something simple. So I'll explain why we're using two basses in a minute, and then how to actually like put them together where they don't fight each other. Okay, sounds a little funny right now, but I promise you it'll all make sense. So what we want to do is go ahead and turn them all the way red. Then we're going to go in here, do shift. Oops, sorry, wrong one. We're going to do Command R, go ahead and repeat it over, and now we're going to do shift, backspace, so they're all kind of together. And this is a fun little trick. So highlight all of it, then what we want to do is hold Command Shift and then, actually not Command Shift, there we go, Option Shift, arrow down, takes it down an octave. So we want to go 2 octaves lower just to make it really fit together. So let's see what we have now. So what I normally, or why I use 2 basses, is because I used to use like a lot of pads and everything to fill up space, but I've gotten really used to using this like Moog bass as like a, almost like a low pad layer, and because you don't want it to be too bright. But the only thing is, if you have 2 lows, they'll fight each other if you're not too sure how to control it. So what I like to do, and this can be used pretty almost with any bass sound, I don't want to say every single one because they're all different, but if we actually solo this out and then look at our EQ, we can see that down here we have a lot of like harmonic layers to it, which is basically saying that you have distortion. So a lot of the low stuff hits anywhere between like 220, so down this way, right? So what you want to do is you actually want to cut for this particular sound, or any kind of like low, you know, kind of pad sound. We want to cut out anything that's below here because your 808 is going to be hitting around there. So I would say maybe around, call it like 150 is where you start that, right? Or give it a little bit more. And then what I like to do is kind of come up here into like the 500 to 2K range, and then just do like a small little boost here, kind of bring that over, and a small little boost there, just to kind of give a little bit more attention to my like the harmonics in it, and that's going to help you be able to hear it through a phone speaker essentially. So that's just a good little note to keep in your head. The more harmonics you have on the high end of the spectrum, the better it'll translate into a phone. So you can tell that by itself it's pretty flat, but if we go ahead and mix it together with this 808, you can tell that they're not, you know, you can hear that they're not fighting for space anymore. So all together, this is what we have. So now what I'm hearing is maybe like a few more little here's and there's, like little perks, or like ear candy. Basically, it's just something that keeps the listener interested, because you don't want anything like super monotonous. You kind of want it to be jumping a little bit all over the place, not too much, because I mean, obviously you want to leave room for the rapper, but still, there's a fine line between, you know, putting just enough and putting too much, so you got to be careful. So I have this thing, it's called Crashes, it's right here, and literally it's just a bunch of samples of crashes. So like, you know, a lot of different sounds here, but the one that I like to use the most, which I actually made an R&B beat, and I use this, you know, kind of like, sometimes you can get creative with the sample cutting off, you know, like that. So for instance, for this track, this is how I'm kind of hearing it. Something like that. Nothing too crazy by itself. It sounds weird. Now we just need to make sure that this is quantized correctly. So now, I think we're already kind of almost done with this for the most part. Now, let's duplicate the crashes. maybe use that one just to start the whole track off. You always, at least for me, I like to have a crash in the beginning. So yeah, it's like that. And then for this particular crash, I like to go ahead and let it ring out, just so that way we get the full effect, and it's like a pretty nice transition on its own. So now what we can go ahead and start doing is labeling, which is a really important part of this. A lot of people don't do it, but I promise you, if you label, things will be so much easier. So I like to start with my kick. Alright, so I'll just label it kick, and then come in here, label this one snare, that one will be hi-hat, and this will be like a Vox perk, something just so you know what it is. So this one would be a cymbal perk. Alright, and then this will be crash. Awesome. So we know this is 808 because it says 808, and we know this is a pad because this is Moog bass, and so I like to arrange with my kick on top, snare, hi-hat, and then all of my perks underneath it. And then my crashes I like to leave at the bottom. I don't know why. That's just how I do it. And then also it's a lot easier if you have any short things like that, just to go ahead and go to the edge of it and then just drag it. Just that way everything's nice and even. You don't have, nothing's gonna look weird whenever you go ahead and like start sequencing things. So that's what we'll start doing. We'll start sequencing. We're gonna come in here and we're gonna go ahead and highlight all of this. And then what you want to do is hit Command C. So what that's going to do is actually copy it to the clipboard. Then we want to go ahead and click on the first track. Don't highlight this, but just kind of click like there and then click off of it, and then make sure you're at the end. And then all you want to do is hit Command V. So that's just going to paste it over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. So you want to do enough to where you can actually start arranging it. Now whenever it comes to arranging, a lot of people are kind of like, oh well, I don't know when to cut out, or I don't know when to do this. It's honestly just however you feel. So like for me personally, I'll arrange it once, kind of sit with it for a little bit, and then come back and then rearrange it. So like literally you can do it forever. Or if you have an artist that's interested in it, and they want to buy the beat or whatever, you bring them in here, and you basically just arrange it together. Like that's how you get the best sounding songs, is whenever you can actually work with your artist to kind of get it together or put it together, if that makes sense. So what we'll go ahead and do is we'll start by taking all of the percussion elements out and the 808. So like I said, this is just personal preference. This is how I do it. So we'll start with just the crash, the actual melody, and then the Moog bass, and then we'll slowly build up from there. Like a cut, just like that. And let the beat ride. So this right here is what you would consider your hook. You normally want to let it go for about, I would say like 8 bars, just kind of depending on how slow or fast the song is. Sometimes you do 8 bars, sometimes you do 16. Like I said, for instance, this is 101 beats per minute, so it's fairly slow. So honestly, this intro might change because from there to there, you're already looking at 19 seconds. So that's quite a bit of time. But for now, we'll leave it there. So after we do the hook, what you want to do is you want to take out like your heavy bass melody line. So basically take out your 808 and then maybe take out some of your perks, because now you want to give the rapper room to move essentially. So let's see what we have here. When we cut out the vocal perk, the cymbal perk, and the 808 itself. Cut out the kick for 4 counts. 2, 3, 4. We'll keep the perks out for now. also, I guess it's just personal preference, but for this one, let's take out the snare for this part, and then notice how the perks will come back into play for this, because now this is a transition to go from the bridge back into the hook of the song. So last 4 counts, let's take out the hi-hats. Bring it back in. So that's basically the arrangement of it. Now, I like to do it extra long because sometimes you just never know how crazy you'll get with it. But now what you can do is actually get rid of all of that, and all of this right here is your actual arrangement that you're going to use. So you start from the first hook, the end of the first hook into this part, and now all you have to do is highlight it. Make sure you get all of it. And then, just like we did in the beginning, we want to hold the option button, or Alt, click and drag, and then boom, we have it. And then normally to end it, what I like to do is I'll just basically end it like the beginning of the song, right? So we'll do that. And then we'll just give it one little cymbal hit. Now it's pretty much a complete beat. So let's listen to it from the beginning and see what we've made. This far in the video, super cool. If you know anybody who might be interested in it, go ahead and share it, maybe tag them, I don't know, it'd help me out, kind of keep doing more stuff like this. So alright, thank y'all for watching, see you later.